That
It was
was
incredible.
Forestine. It was incredible.
Thank you.
All right, here we are one more time at 4 o'clock for the frequency shift panel on the Synth Society Summit weekend. That's a lot of S's, huh? Yeah. All right. And Space Racer,
Thank you for being here. As you all know, we've been waiting for this panel, a subject and a group of people near and dear to my heart, the Frequency Shift crew. And we're just so happy that you could be with us today. We're excited to talk to our panelists. We're happy to have you in the chat. And let's just take a minute and go around and let our panelists introduce themselves and maybe just how they got hooked up or integrated into this frequency shift family that we call ours. So let's start with our girl Caltryx.
Hey, yeah, I'm Caltryx. I'm a musician in New York. I do like weird noise stuff. Been doing it for a couple of years now. I got into I'm trying to actually remember how I met Trovarsi now. I think it was like the New York Modular Society did like Signals or some show back when quarantine first started. And yeah, made friends.
So long ago, huh?
Yeah. Over a year ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Saddle Up the Robots. We were putting together the frequency shift, and
yeah,
I to him, and he's like, "You should talk to this person," and then the rest is history.
Yeah, just helped with almost everyone that we've done. So
I love hosting things. So.
And we have Moxy.
Unmute. Hey, y'all. How's it going? I'm Moxy Martinez. I am based in Columbus, Ohio. And gosh, my frequency shift journey started because of the wonder of the internet, getting connected with other people who were spaghetti hounds patching in and out, and responded to the call for artists. And the next thing I know, I'm selected and I'm losing my mind and I have to put together this video. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope it's good enough. And now I realize, yes, it's good enough. It's more than good enough because it's sound appreciation and it created connective energies with all of you. So that's how I ended up here today.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for having me, and awesome to meet everyone. And thank you for everyone watching. This is very exciting.
You're repping the shirt. I love it.
Yeah, had to.
Next up, Reina.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Reina. Yeah, I kind of came into this through Mod, actually. Mod Voss posted up in their story about a call to perform, and I was brand new with Eurorack, like really just exploring around, and I was doing some like small scale like meditation performances, and I was like, I could maybe do this online, and went for it and loved it. And yeah, the community is wonderful, amazing people, and yeah, thanks for having me on this. I'm excited.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And next we have Heidi, Bachelard.
Heidi.
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is actually, I guess, my first time on Frequency Shift, I guess. Trovarsi and I were recently on the same panel for David's Colorado Modular Society chat, I guess, a couple months ago. And that's how we connected. And I guess I've heard of you, and I've seen you on the internet and heard of you from Jono. So I'm really, really excited and honored to be here today and to be part of this group of panelists. And yeah, super happy to be here from Toronto.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, Jono and both David were like, you guys need to talk to each other because she's awesome. And yeah, so I'm glad that we made this connection. So welcome to the Frequency Shift family. And last but definitely not least, Sine Mountain.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Sine Mountain, aka David Soto. I help run Colorado Modular Synth Society, and my journey with Frequency Shift started actually before Frequency Shift. I had a really good conversation with Space Racer, and we talked about, just the whole with the representation lacking, and I took that to heart, and I'm really glad we had that conversation because it changed a lot for me. So since then, we were supporting Frequency Shift, and we try to carry it out and try to treat all our shows with what we learned from that event. So I'm really super happy to be here and talking about this and so many other things I'm sure we're going to organically get into.
Thank you for being here. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, thanks, David. Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go into. Out of that conversation was the birth of Frequency Shift. And it was, I don't want to say it was like a temper tantrum that I had. No. But Colorado Modular Synth Society, and through no fault of their own at all, I want to stress this, put on an event. And it was, I can't remember if it was like one of their summer events or something. And I think there were like 27 or 29 performers, and there were 2 women. Mm-hmm. And I just, jokingly made a comment like, hey, where's the representation? And I think that, I was joking, but not, I was, just surprised. And it turns out that he had made a call for, they put out a call for this. It's not like they just hand selected all these dudes and then they're like, no ladies, no, nobody else. It was just all innocent. And it was because the people that they're, IG and, Twitter, whoever we're following, they just we weren't all following each other. We didn't have that connection. And so, he messaged me. He's like, I'm so sorry. I should have asked you to play. And it wasn't about that. It was just about how do we get everyone together? And so Trovarsi and I had a conversation. We're like, let's put a call out. Surely there's more people doing, modular, doing electronic music, doing other cool stuff, noise exploration. So that's what we did. And we put out the call and we got amazing people, and the rest is history. So
I think one thing I literally learned from that is, it wasn't like I'm sure everybody who's on this panel has seen that same situation where it's like there's an event going on and there's like zero representation. It's like the same. It's what you think it's going to look like, right? You're like, oh, this again. And, I totally, I admit it, that's what happened. We end up having that same situation where it was really thin. And I have talked to so many other, people who were trying to put on events from different, not even just like in modular, but just in general. And they always had the same complaint. I can't find any women to play, blah, blah, blah. I put the call out. We're totally open-minded. I think we, definitely as men, we're always like kind of saying, well, we're open. But what I learned was that's kind of not good enough. There has to be something more done for that. So, there goes my video. But yeah, the man's trying to shut me down.
All right, he said Let's go.
That's so funny. No, but while you're getting your camera situated, I'll jump in here, David. I did make that post. The first post, it was sort of facetious, because I was like, there must be more than 20, women, non-binary folks out there playing and using modular. I'm glad that we started doing this, because I think part of it, like you said, it's not enough. It's about us making it's also who we're connected with as well. And we have to be conscious of that, and our synth societies and being and creating an environment that's all inclusive. And here, Reina, there you are. And and it's just about laying that foundation, and through everyone's personal experiences, it's just, it's a different path. And sometimes it's a lot harder for people to put themselves out there in certain situations. And so as founders of a synth society that stand on the foundation of the words of saying that we're all inclusive, we need to make sure that we do whatever we can to let everybody know that. What are your thoughts? I want to ask Heidi, like, what are your thoughts? This is your first frequency shift panel, and we hope that you will perform the frequency shift performance when we have that, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, what do you think about? Because I know you yourself are an activist, and
Yeah, I usually don't think of myself so much as an activist, but I think just by intrinsically doing what I like to do, I think that's a form of activism, just pursuing it regardless of expectations around like my gender or my cultural background. I think that's a form of activism, and I think everything that you and David has talked about. I've also have talked to other people, folks in Toronto. We have a Toronto meetup, and usually I'm one of, if not the only, non-male participant. But that's changing, and I remember very clearly when I attended the synth booth last year. I think it was a virtual modular event. Sine Mountain was on a panel, a community panel. I don't remember if Trovarsi, you were on the same one. It was around community, and David specifically said that it's not just enough to say on your advertisement that it's open to everyone. That you have to do like a lot of times you do individual outreach. That you have to reach out to specific people, and you can't just assume that just because it says it's all inclusive that people feel comfortable, because the demographic is still very much skewed right now, and so that really there's still like a barrier to that. Like the people who show up still, is a majority very much skewed towards one gender, or
right.
So that's what I think. I think there are still barriers for women, for queer, trans, non-binary folk, in not just in the modular world, just in music making. The voices and the faces of music makers. And my friend and I recently started a podcast called Gear for Queers. Because of gear, like gear talk or gear demos, right? Again, we all know the face and the voices of gear experts is again, historically.
It's a great podcast.
It takes us a long time. We've only had 2 so far, but now that I know all of you.
Yeah,
and everyone in the chat, I'll drop. I don't know if I have that link in there. I have another link of yours, Heidi, but I will drop the SoundCloud link in the description after all the panels, for sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick, like touching on what Heidi was mentioning there about being the only one in the room, and I definitely have had that feeling, as a Latino in a lot of situations. Not only a modular, but I'm also into birding, and I don't feel comfortable going into a park with binoculars by myself because I feel like people are going to assume something. It's like it's one of those things where I don't think that white society really understands. White males understand that, like, they might think they're open-minded, and they might be like super super cool people, but when you walk into the room and you're the only one, I don't know what you're feeling, and I don't feel comfortable, so I don't feel like going any deeper. So, after reflecting and that conversation that we all had with space, I have a space racer, and I was talking to my wife, and me and my wife talk about this all the time. She's like, maybe they don't want to come, and I look at, Muff Wiggler, and I'm like, I don't even feel comfortable looking at that. Why would I want to hang out there? So, Heidi, when you did that Gears for Queers, I thought that's genius, because these spaces don't feel welcoming to so many of us, right?
Yeah, I think about think about some of that stuff a lot because I am trans. I transitioned like only a couple of years ago, and so for like a lot of my adult life, I was like read as a dude because I was presenting that way. And there's like this huge difference, even in spaces that are nominally like progressive and welcoming, in like entering a space as someone who is read as a guy. There's almost never like any need to prove that you belong there, where even in spaces that are progressive and are like welcoming and things like that, there is still like people don't immediately assume that you're there to participate in it. Or that you have been doing it for a while, or that you are knowledgeable, or that you belong in that space. I don't know, just remember once getting asked, like in one of the few like actual person live shows I played, like being asked why I was there, which is not a thing that had happened to me before.
Right. Interesting. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
To anyone who's
yeah.
probably not a white cis male. It's probably happened to.
But
What about you, Reina?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's why the frequency shift crew is so interesting, is because like even just like last week I was on a forum and like was getting talked down to because this person just assumed I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm just here to chat, but like that's why it's nice to have like a space where it's like, oh, there's no expectation of that. Like it could come in and that weight just isn't on my shoulders. Like I can just play my shit. And we were talking about like building modules right before the panel started. And it's like, it's really nice. It's very fluid, and when you're not having to put in that extra effort, you can, allocate that effort into your art or meeting people and making genuine connections. And like, that's really nice.
So well said. Yes.
Exactly. I want to add that like along with the maybe like the gender disparity is also like this gear elitism, right? Regardless of who you are, how you represent, how much you know shouldn't be a reason to put you down, because we all, come into this, this practice at different times. And I do know that at least, my experience in the modular community has mostly been very positive, where, a lot of people who know more are often very helpful to those who are just starting out. But I do find that there's also like this kind of gear elitism, or, often like talk about what's the right way to do things, or, that sort of thing that intersects with the other things that we talk about here.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I'm poor as shit and I can only afford so much. And it's like, I make do, but like, yeah, there really is that sort of like assumption of what you have is what you can do.
They say the best revenge is success. And, one specific instance, I was opening for a pretty large band here in town, and this dude, straight up, this super dude, scoffed at a piece of gear that I have used for a long, long time. And I played my set and I was really excited about it. And as I was walking off stage, he was like, "Oh, that was a really good set." And I was like, "Yeah, it was that piece of gear that you were like, oh my God, are you still using that?" And it's like, you know what? Yes, I am. And I fucking will until it dies. Because at this point, exactly, we have what we have in this moment, and there can't be gear elitism, because you will lose the excitement of creating when you're just like snatching up all the hottest gear and not really doing anything with it. And one of the best, things I read 15, 20 years ago is from this old defunct magazine, Remix magazine. It doesn't even exist anymore, and I have like a few vintage copies because the content is still so relevant now. And there was this quote from, I don't even know who at this point, and they were like, you know what, be the master of your domain. Have a few pieces of gear that really work for you. It doesn't matter if it's 50 years old or 5 days old. You use what you have, be the master of that, and then create your world around that. You don't have to keep potpourri, just adding. You just, at least for myself, and I can't speak for everybody. If I have too much stuff, I don't go anywhere. And that there is you're right, a matter of gear elitism that I have not experienced since entering deep into this community of a year now. It's, everyone's willing to share and be like, even if you're in the same city, or you can borrow it, or, you can test it out. And I think that's another really great aspect of being able to stay on equal and validating ground with everyone, because we're all still here trying to do the same thing, and that's create and appreciate sound and music and audio.
Mm-hmm. Well
That's
said.
all for this moment.
Well said. Well said. So let me ask you this then. What do you think what would you recommend a Synth Society? What can we do to continue this path? Like to keep it moving, to bring more people into the fold, to be more open. Like what are some suggestions, not only to SoCal Synth Society, but to all of these Synth Societies that are watching right now, and all the promoters that I'm sure watching and having shows? Like, what do you suggest?
I mean, something personally I try to do is, one, stay connected with everyone and try to do as many things as possible. And that's been a little bit easier because we've all just kind of been home hanging around on the internet. And so now you're making more of an effort to show up for your friends. And it's showing up for your friends, like virtually, and now with things opening up locally. I'm the founder of the Columbus Synth Slam, and this year will be the 4th one. And I think it's neat to not only encourage people who live in your city, but now, like, within driving distance, especially after a year of just being home, like encouraging people to show up IRL and to, stand in an audience and listen to what people are doing in that moment. And everything that at least the synth societies I've experienced just do such an amazing job pulling people in and saying, hey, this is for you. It's not just for us making and producing and hosting this thing. It's for all of you. And, just encouraging everyone just to show up for each other. I think that's a major important aspect. And it's also very inspiring and encouraging. I mean, I don't even know where I'd be without Frequency Shift, without everyone I've met encouraging and being excited about just the things that I've been doing. It's been priceless and just, I don't know, heart melting, really.
I'm gonna cry.
Seriously.
Really, it's just that we're nerds deep down, and we want other nerds to be with us.
Yeah.
We want to nerd out together and be friends with the nerds.
Befriend the nerds. So I think, like, this is something that I'll probably never figure out completely, because it's always evolving and we can always get better. But I think about, when I think about how we can be more inclusive, obviously it starts with the self, right? Like, how can I be more inclusive just in general in my life? Thinking through that. So, that's just good practice, and openly talking about it on Discord or Facebook or your IG, wherever you're at, to kind of bring these conversations, these kind of events, keep putting it up, keep raising the visibility of the conversations, something that we have an ability to do. Everybody wants to, like, watch show and look at gear, but I think we can look right now at how many people are watching this right now and know that there is an appetite for the conversation. So it's good. I also think that and maybe you've heard this too, Trovarsi, but like a lot of people seem to come into this community after being in some other music community and just knowing that all that bullshit, they don't want to bring it here. And I think there's really something super special about these last couple of years, and definitely now. We all are on the first chapter of what modular synth music is right now. I mean, I know it's been around longer than the last like few years, but the way it's been going down, like just before the pandemic, but definitely since the pandemic, we are like writing up this like the real first chapter of modular synth music, and we all have an ability to really make it our own, and to not fall into the same traps that other genres have fallen into. And one of those is being aware of the disparities and all the other bullshit that goes on around the world. Like, we can't ignore it. And Heidi was talking about activism and stuff, and just being there is an action, right? Like, sometimes people say, like, how can you be political with ambient music? If you're not a white dude and you're making ambient music, you're political. You know what I mean? It's just happening. It's just happening. So I think we gotta keep just talking about it and bringing it up. And I love seeing, like, our white allies, like, start and say, hey, you know what? I fucked up and I'm gonna do better. Like, that's a huge step. And I think it's cool. Obviously, we have tons more steps to go, but I think it's gonna be a lot of like outreach and just kind of prodding and poking and keeping it going.
I think the thing I would add to that is, like, if you want to make inclusive events, like, I think it has to start from making the group that is actually organizing these things itself inclusive, bringing diverse voices into the group that is organizing the society, organizing these events, hosting them. Because, like, without that, like, you aren't going to build the right events. And I think, like, that's kind of why, like, a lot of this stuff that came out of, like, the SoCal Synth Society, because it is a little more diverse than, like, some of the other ones.
Just a little.
No, I think that's huge. Sorry.
And that's okay for now, like, but that's why we're going to use our voices, and we come together, and that's even more of the reason why we wanted to do the frequency shift. And David, I'm sure that I'm just going to speak for you right now and say that you're going to team up with us to do really another big frequency shift event. Awesome.
No, I know. I wish you, I mean, I know we're not in the same city, but I feel like that every time when we partner up, I feel like we're trying to do what Caltryx is talking about, And I think you're totally right. That's it. Like, I mean, they're figuring this out in other industries, that if you don't have women in the boardroom, the guys are going to make the same decisions. It's the same thing, representation, and all over, like, wherever people make decisions. If it's the same dudes, no matter how progressive they think, it's just going to, like, be a blind spot for them.
Yeah. They're just not going to think about it. They might be the best dudes in the world, but they're just not going to think about certain things. And they're just going to, just not have it on their radar sometimes. So.
Yeah. And, like, I work in a coffee shop, and we think about this subject a lot. Like, how do we make a space that is, like, neutral third space and inclusive to literally anybody? And it's like, if you don't have those people sitting in your coffee shop, it doesn't matter how many queers you have behind the bar. Like, that's a great space for the people working there. But if the people, coming to sit there and do their homework or whatever don't feel welcome, then it's kind of all for nothing. Well, not all for nothing, but, and I feel like it's kind of similar. Like, if you don't have, queer people and non-white people in your audiences, and, like, then, it is good. Like, I'm not trying to disagree with anything that's been said. Like, I do think it starts from the top and your organizers and your performers and stuff. But I think it's really a good sign that there's a groundswell happening when you have those people coming out and wanting to be a part of it, even if they're not musicians or into, synths or whatever. And I think kind of like that could even be a next step for even people who are doing things correctly. Like, cool, we got the organizers, we got the performers, now how do we get the crowd,
And I think
said there's, go ahead, Heidi.
Oh, sorry. And on that note, I also am thinking about sustainability from more of a generational too. Like, this is a great opportunity to bring up the next generation of synth users, modular users that could be more diverse, really devote time reaching out to communities of kids. I think because gear is increasingly democratized in a way, and I think there are folks in the synth and modular community that are thinking a lot about education right now. There are a lot of small companies that are trying to just do things. My day job is working in a university, researching on synthesizers for early childhood education. So I'm thinking a lot about these things these days, and
Really cool.
what Aaron's doing with AfroRack and all of these great community projects that are going out. I think because the disparity came from, I think, like the previous generation of the users, but now we can then bring up, we want the next generation of audiences and artists, and so I think that's a really important point in terms of diversifying, is to think of future faces and future artists. Yeah.
And Caltryx, I know going back to what you were saying and what Heidi was just saying, like you have Lafray, who's like the director of the Willie Mae Rock Camp, or Willie Mae Future Sounds, excuse me. They changed to their name recently, and that's a foundation that helps BIPOC kids, and that's a good way to maybe team up and see who else is out there that hasn't. Who needs a little nudge, like a loving nudge to come out of the woodworks and play and join you. So yeah, now that maybe you guys can meet up, you can do like an in-person collab or something.
Soon. I mean, I know I'm vaccinated now, so yeah, life is gonna get going again. Yeah, Frey is such a cool person, though. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, it's okay.
Gosh, great.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's vaccinated, and I think they're ready to start doing stuff for the fall, I believe. But yeah, that's just I just agree with everything that everyone has said today, is just reaching out, and I like the working with kids aspect. We've done a little bit of that, but that was like right before the pandemic took off. We did a meetup with we went to Give a Beat, and that's sort of how Corey actually came up with the line make shape move, and like, how do we tell these kids like what a filter is or what the oscillator is in an hour, but that was like a core thing. And you're right, Heidi, we as SoCal Synth Society, I think that as we open up, we need to reach out into a younger generation and start doing more at that level, at that age level as well.
Part of it is, I guess, getting getting maybe a little funding, maybe doing some fundraising or having these community events, because I mean, let's get real. None of us are going to bring our own setups for kids to play with, so, we have to get, beginning setups and other donations, and have these workshops like, Willie Mae and AfroRack does in the schools and in his community, and Give a Beat and the other organizations that are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I know we all have our own systems that we probably might not want kids to touch, but then we could also build kits for kids. I mean, these are just knobs and things that kids can totally play with, and so these are adult tools that kids can learn and engage with. Maybe not like Trovarsi system, but like something that's derivative of that.
We actually
red cables.
we actually did build a system for kids to play with for our very first festival, and everybody donated a module that they kind of felt comfortable putting into that rig, and then one of our members built a fader bank, and we basically just had the kids play with the fader bank and say, kind of point at it like, this is what, and that idea was actually from a div kid did something the year before, and I reached out to him like, how do you build a case for kids? And he was kind of giving me some pointers on like the fader bank being a huge part of it, but I do think there is something that maybe we should think about probably offline, like how do we get some of that grant money, because I think we've all gone from just hanging out and just finding nerds that trade and talk about, to like getting more community driven and wanting to be more involved in other community events. I know like every single museum has some sort of like interactive day. There's always that. There's always kids. There's lots of schools. There's usually some, in most major cities, there's always some organizations that's using music to reach children. And that's just the nonprofit stuff. And then there's all the profit stuff out there too that I'm sure you can tap into. Libraries, all those things are awesome, but it really would behoove us to like probably look into seeing how we can kind of get some grant money to like get these systems, get like, you know, computers with VCV rack in it, you know, and you know, help fund this, because, you know, one thing that's probably doesn't get talked about a lot is that, you know, all of us that are behind societies, we have day jobs. We have families, you know, it's really hard. And as much as we put into it, you know, committing to like putting on something on for youth or for women or non-binary folks or minorities or whatever we want to do, you know, that takes a lot of effort. And, you know, there's more on the line for that. Like putting on a concert, like, yeah, whatever, you know, you guys are forgive me for making mistakes, but I don't want to F up an opportunity to teach kids.
I'd like to, yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right. And talking about funding, two things I do want to mention. STEM Modular is actually in the chat, and that's another great, you know, that's a fantastic modular company. They focus on making Eurorack modules that are more affordable, and his foundation is basically like teaching kids. And I guess it would be something like reaching out, thinking about who we could reach out to, like other companies. Like we did a thing in LA at Grand Park, and we had Noise Engineering and Electron. They just gave us like a bunch of gear, and we essentially had like a gear petting zoo, but it was awesome.
It was amazing.
There are kids there, kids with their parents. Their parents are, you know, showing them stuff. We're showing the kids stuff, and the parents are like, you know, wow, like, you know, because their kids are into it. And I guess I would like to say this to all of us on the panel and everyone in the chat, like, the frequency shift is about the, you know, everything that we did with the show and stuff, but it is pushing the status quo. It is going against the patriarchy, and, you know, frequency shift is about just that, shifting that frequency. So reach out to your Synth Society. Reach out and ask what you can do to help. You know, we all have day jobs. We all have other families, things in our lives, but maybe there's that one thing that you're good at, you know, that you can contribute. You know, that's, you know, like, for example, I'm just going to call him out right now, Jono Wells. You know, every time we need to do some big stream or something, you know, he's our SoCal brother. And, you know, that's like, he's phenomenal at it. And so that's what he volunteers. That's what he delivers. There's Abe that does the artwork. David, I know that you can name a bunch of people as well, like, but the list could go on, and you're all in the chat and you know who you are. But that is what I invite everyone to do. Like, if you want to help change, reach out to your communities and say, hey, like, I can help with a newsletter, or I can help, you know, like, reach out to this group of people that I know that maybe you're not affiliated with, and bring them into the fold. Like, all of that helps. All of it helps.
Yeah. Or fundraising, or grant writing, or anything like that.
Any of that. Like,
And even like this week, my supervisor just sold a couple of modules to a local guy in Toronto, and when they met, he found out that the person who's buying the module is a elementary school teacher, and so they started talking, and now this guy who just bought some modules is like, hey, I'm going to try and like incorporate some of this testing in my school, you know, once everything gets started again. So it could be as just talking, like finding the educators in your community, people who have connections with schools or are teachers themselves, who can, you know, convince, you know, hopefully just pitch something to the schools, right? Just pitch something like a little, you know, synth tour or something, or add VCV rack to their library computer or something like that. Like something really just start small. But I think every
The
little thing.
lunchbox, the 2 HP lunchbox, and take it to
2
school.
HP lunchbox. Yeah.
And I would like to be totally transparent with the panelists and with everyone on the chat. Like frequency shift caused me to have a brain shift. When I was putting together my Synth Slam list for this year, I was like, I'm going to look at photos from the last one I had, and I had to do it in 2019. And the whole idea of doing the Synth Slam here in Columbus is exactly what everyone is doing everywhere. I'm just trying to bring people together. Well, I realized I'm looking at all these photos and I'm like, okay, these are all dudes because they're all my friends, because I think like a dude, like because of my like gender identity and all this stuff, I think like a dude. I'm like, those are all my dudes. These are my dudes. Oh, those are my dude friends. And then because of yeah, right. So this like just being in a part of frequency shift and just seeing the evolution of all the different types of people, I realized that putting together my list of performers for this year, I needed to be sure that everyone felt represented, and I had to shift my brain and be like, okay, I can't just have a whole bunch of dudes because that's how I identify most of the time. And I am just so appreciative and grateful for the exposure to so many, like just a massive variety of artists, because I'm not sure I would have been able to feel confident and I don't even know the words. I'm not even sure if I knew that there were more than just dudes out there doing synth stuff. So this has not only been important for my synth work, but how I view myself as a producer and as a host and as someone who wants to bring everyone together to this event and make it as diverse as my performers and vice versa. Like it has to be like that. So I had this total oh shit moment, like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't perpetuate that anymore. And I was guilty of it and didn't even realize until this like, oh moment. So thank you for that, because that's huge. And I'm so grateful for that shift in my brain.
I mean, we talk about community support, but I think community accountability is also a big part of it. Like, you know, accountability isn't just for when somebody does something wrong. It's proactive, you know, it's making sure that you're pushing others to act and to, you know, be the change you want to see and stuff.
So true. I just want to like jump in really quick and say, like, we are about 6 minutes out before the top of the hour. We do have one more panel for the evening. That's the Mod BAP panel. It's again on the SoCal Synth Society YouTube page. So after this, please hop over there and check that out and support that. And then tomorrow, please, Colorado Modular Synth. Did I say this right, David? Colorado Modular Synth Society. Your name is just as long as ours. So Colorado Modular Synth Society's YouTube page. All day tomorrow. The panels will commence at 11.
11 your time.
11 o'clock Pacific. 11 Pacific.
12 o'clock. Go to our site. I don't know what time it is.
Yeah,
right
so well, since we've been in Pacific, we'll just, not to confuse, because you know where all of us are everywhere. Pacific. So yeah. And does anybody have like a last thing to say in the last 5 minutes?
Well, too bad we can't do a bonus noise panel. We'll have to like.
I know.
Everybody here loves noise, which is awesome. Sorry.
Another time. I do actually there is something kind of there. It's one of the things that I've noticed about like the modular space, maybe more so than some of the other musical spaces, is like openness to different genres. I think that is something that certainly helps in like building a more diverse group, because like their space is like it has been amazing, like playing in shows that are almost otherwise like all like techno and doing my weird like noise stuff and people being like excited or like pro it. It's like cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
I love that we all lean into the cool parts of our society, our shows, is that everyone's bringing their own style, their own approach, their own setup. I mean, that's what modular is at the spirit of it. You know, making your own instrument and making your own sound. That's what makes us so unique and so amazing. And so it's great to be on this panel, to have a reflection in the personalities and the people as well, to be so unique and so awesome. And I mean this from the heart. I really love all of you. I really do. I love everybody who's taking their time to be here and to do this, because it means so much, not only to our society, but it also means a lot to our children and into the world. So much love.
I mean, this whole community is so validating. You know, just bouncing off Caltryx. It's like I don't think I would feel as confident doing what people would consider weird ass noise. That's not music. Fuck yes, it's music. It's all music because it means something to us.
This is all frequency.
Yeah,
that's right. So thank you all for helping my confidence, because you're all, everyone, so talented. Like, it just blows my mind.
You're talented.
Yeah.
I think Christy Blizzard said it best in the chat, another awesome frequency shift person, but like, it's like modular and synths are so non-binary. And it's like, I think just bringing your own self to that, you know, that just, it breaks it. And that's great.
Yeah, that's great. Another person you should check out, Christy Blizzard. Just crazy stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah. Such amazing performances from her. Yeah.
And I guess it's time to get out of here, but we just want to say thank you, everyone, just from the bottom of our hearts. Just thanks, David. You know, thank all of the panelists, you in the chat. We wouldn't be here without you, and we can't wait to continue this frequency shift journey.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, be on the lookout. We were going to have a little announcement, but we didn't finalize the date. So, but likely there will be a frequency shift anniversary show. So maybe sometime this summer. So we'll announce that soon. And thank you.
Cool. And if anyone's wondering why I pointed at my socks, it's because David sent me those socks, and they're chicken. They're chicken. I don't know.
If you buy something from me, you get a sock, and you got some cool socks.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you, Trovarsi.
You're welcome. Anyone else, like, you wanted any tip?
I don't have any patch tips, but if anyone's rolling through anywhere near Columbus, Ohio on August 22nd, I am producing and hosting this year's Synth Slam, and I have some really awesome performers, and I'm planning on having 3 to 4 jam stations for people to get their hands on some things and make some noise. So please find me either on Instagram or wherever people search for things.
Do you have a date for it?
It's Sunday, August 22nd.
Okay.
Here in Columbus.
Do you have a separate link for that, or no?
Not yet. It's just kind of save the date. I'm still, I feel like the John O. Wells in this situation, where I'm just like trying to put all this together, and my head going to stay up for 2 days, and then when I wake up, it's going to be over. So, but yeah, if anyone's near Columbus within driving distance, please find me, and we'll get you there, because again, it's all about community. So. Thank you for having me.
I think you have some people in the chat that are going to be attending.
Yeah.
Other frequency shift members. Yeah.
Yeah. The frequency shift matchmaking success story right there. So save that for the anniversary show.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. See you over on the other panels. See you tomorrow for the panels. Thank you. Thank you.
Peace.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.